Hello and welcome back to another episode of State of Star Wars. I'm your host, Wedge Antilles, and today I am joined by the magnificent Jedi Master Daniel
Hello?
and the ever-amazing Captain Henson.
Hey guys.
So today we are going to be talking about The Mandalorian and taking a look back at Season 1 in anticipation for the new Season 2 coming out on October 30th on Disney+.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Mm.
We're gonna first start off by talking about the season itself and when we first watched it. I assume you guys had seen every episode on premiere.
Yep.
Yep.
So talk about it. How did it make you feel? What was your overall impression of the series as it was progressing, and then when it finished?
I guess I'll go first. When it announced we were getting a live-action Star Wars show, because this was, the first ever Star Wars live-action show we've gotten, and, there was the plans of a Star Wars live-action show by George Lucas even after Revenge of the Sith came out, because back then we didn't know, the chances of more movies would happen, but when I saw the announcement of The Mandalorian, it looked, pretty interesting concept, and then when the first image came, it looked even more interesting, and as more announcements came on, and then even I went to Star Wars Celebration last year in Chicago, and I got to watch the live stream of the panel on a big screen they had at Celebration, so I got to see a bit of that, at Celebration. Then when Season 1 premiered, I was, blown away by it. I went, this is a good start for the first ever Star Wars live action show, and then I think the show progressed as it went on, and then definitely, can't wait for Season 2. So that's pretty much what I gotta say.
Alright, well, for me, I had learned about it when they first announced it, and obviously it being the first live-action Star Wars show, I was really excited. And as we got closer and closer to release, getting really hyped. I was more hyped for this than I was for the previous movies we had just gotten. And that first episode was honestly amazing. And who can forget the ending when Baby Yoda is first revealed? That, I already liked the show, but that just hooked me. A few episodes in, then my dad started watching it with me. So, for the premiere of every episode, him and I would watch it together. And by the end, overall, I really liked it. I think cracks have started to show, but I can get into that later. But yeah, I'm really excited for Season 2.
Awesome. Well, for me, I had also found out pretty much when it was announced. I was incredibly hyped just because it was the idea of a Mandalorian character, and I thought of all kinds of different directions they could have taken it with how Star Wars Rebels was progressing, and just overall the whole Mandalorian culture is just really fascinating to me, as we've learned from Legends. When the first episode premiere, I had hosted a small watch party with my brother and some friends, and we had watched the episode, and it was just something otherworldly practically. It was like watching a Star Wars movie on premiere at the theater, but at home, and we were just shocked by the ending with the child essentially, and we were wondering where the hell was the show going to take us. And each episode, I found that it just built upon the other, and it just got better and better. The characters were becoming more interesting, especially that of the Mandalorian, as he was essentially in each episode transforming into a whole new different character that we haven't really seen in a Mandalorian type.
Let's dive into the overall story in all the arcs.
We're going to start with the first arc, which was the first 3 episodes, and it was essentially the Mandalorian getting his bounty and bringing it back to Werner Herzog's character, as he was the client he was working for. He eventually sort of has a change of heart and goes to rescue him. So what did you guys think of the first arc?
I thought it was pretty good, and then, because at first, as he said it, he collects his bounty and all that, and then it was also in the, it was pretty cool to see. Then you go to that one planet where it sees all the Jawas and all that, and there's a bit where in that one episode he fights that like rhino-looking creature. Then you see like Baby Yoda use the Force, and then it proves that he's a Force sensitive. Then in that bit, it was pretty awesome in that third episode at the end when it's all the other Mandalorians fighting in the city and all that. And then we even see Jon Favreau's character in The Mandalorian, because he also voiced Pre Vizsla in the Clone Wars, which is a Mandalorian character. And he also, he's the one that says, "This is the way," and then that's how the slogan, "This is the way," started. And then he says in it, and then at the end when he says on the jetpack, he says, "I gotta get one of those."
Yeah.
All right.
So Captain Henson, what'd you think of it?
So overall, I thought it was good. I think episode 1 was really strong. I think it's set everything up pretty nicely, giving us a good understanding of what's going to happen in the world that we find ourselves in. Episode 2, I felt and still feel like it was... I don't want to say it was filler, because important stuff did happen in that episode, but I felt like we had to go on this side quest, because in that episode we had Jawas tear apart his ship, and of course the Mandalorian needed to repair his ship, so we had to go on this side quest, which in my opinion just was a distraction. But we did see Baby Yoda use the Force for the first time there. And then episode 3 was a good way to end this arc, setting up what the rest of the season is going to be about, and really establishing what the new status quo is.
With this first arc, I really saw it as, this is the sort of typical Mandalorian where he's like cold, like ruthless hunter, and it is sort of establishes that character for him. We get the impression that this is who he's going to be more or less throughout the rest of the series. Like, he's essentially going to be like a cowboy type character, like Clint Eastwood in all those Western films. And I thought that was really interesting to start the character off like that, and then giving him a child to take care of. And then as we see with the later episodes, he slowly becomes more and more of a father to it. As for the episodes themselves, I really enjoyed the second episode with the Jawas, as it was just like a fun little like side quest, and it helped establish a lot more Mandalorian lore by reintroducing the Mythosaur and having Nick Nolte's character, the Ugnaught. We have his character sort of become established, and he instantly becomes a fan favorite for just his like no nonsense demeanor, and like he has a wiseness to him that's like not to the level of Yoda, but like a character that's been through the mill more than once of the Imperial machine, and now that he's like finally free, he's gotten this like sort of set of wisdom that the Force had him travel to that planet, so that then the Mandalorian would eventually seek his sort of help, which is something I like to think of was happening behind the scenes. As for the ending with the reveal of Baby Yoda, it was not a big surprise. It was like expected, but it was still a shock nonetheless, because it was like, oh crap! So it looks like all of them are Force sensitive, because at this point, even if you take into account Legends, all the members of Yoda's species were portrayed as Jedi. As for then the third episode, you see him, he was essentially like the bounty hunter character we expected him to be, of being cold and ruthless, but being with Baby Yoda for that long, he then changed, like something changed inside of him, and then he just went back like full on going crazy on the Imperials and just like taking them out one by one, taking out bounty hunters, and then the rest of the Mandalorians show up to help, and then he like escapes with the baby. Yeah, one thing I really loved from this first arc was actually when Carl Weathers' character had dropped like warlords for Imperial warlords. Like, it just instantly brought me back to thinking like the X-Wing novels and like Warlord Zinj and all that, and I was just like, oh crap. Like, automatically my mind was like, oh man, they're going to bring back Warlord Zinj, but even though it's like a pipe dream.
Yeah, I could see them possibly doing it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring back more like warlords. Maybe we'll see the ones from Legends or something similar. Maybe we could see the likes of maybe like I don't know, Natasi Dollar or Usain Izzard sometime. Maybe we could in the future.
Yeah,
that's a discussion for another time.
For sure.
Something that did put a smile on my face was in the first episode at the beginning, where he's bringing in that fish-looking alien for a bounty, and a creature attacks the ship, and then he attacks it with his staff, and I immediately thought of the holiday special.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm fairly certain that was intentional, because we do get a lot of references or Easter eggs to the EU in this series. I mean, if you look at the Mandalorian himself, he looks just like what Boba Fett did in 1313.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was unmade, but still, nice touch.
True. And I think later on we get like a red shadow trooper from the Force Unleashed games.
Yeah.
They did confirm that in the gallery and the behind the scenes thing, like the round table thing.
And also we have those creatures that the Ugnut has. I'm spacing on what they're called, but come from the second Ewok film, Battle of Endor.
Yeah, the Blurgs. They were also in Clone Wars and Rebels as well.
Yeah.
So, anything else we need to say about the first arc?
I really also want to really quickly mention how they sort of introduced the Mandalorian like genocide. Like there's that great was the Night of Tears or something. Like from what we can assume, the Mandalorian uprising like went really really badly, like the one we saw in Rebels. And which caused Mandalorians to be almost wiped out. I find that to be really interesting. I hope it's something they really develop, as it could be like really cool to sort of see like characters such as like not like Sabine, because like Sabine we saw at the end of Rebels, she was okay. I mean like characters like Bo-Katan and the Night Owls, the rest of Clan Ren. Like what happened to them? Like do you think,
I do
what's
think
going on with them?
Oh, yeah, I do think we'll get a lot of questions in Season 2 answered on that. Because I think with Bo-Katan possibly appearing in Season 2, I think it's going to connect with the Darksaber, how Moff Gideon got it.
Do you think Moff Gideon had killed her to get it, or was there like something else?
I think it's possible. Or it could be. I think possibly he killed her, which I could see it in a flashback, or he is a potential Mandalorian, like a former Mandalorian that joined the Empire. I think that's a good possibility.
Oh yeah, it could be like one of those Imperial Super Commandos.
Yeah, because even if you go to the art of The Empire Strikes Back, like there's a thing that confirms Boba Fett was like a super commando. I read, there's along the lines of that, which was the original cons, because that's where the term Mandalorian first appeared, was the art of The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Wasn't the idea of him being a super commando from the original Marvel comic?
Not sure on that, but I know they have something in the Empire Strikes Back art book, and they also mention it in the Clone Wars Season 2 featurette as well, in the Creating Mandalore behind the scenes feature.
Speaking of Clone Wars, I wonder if they're going to explain the sort of difference between the more pacifist Mandalorians, like the Mandalorians we see in Rebels, and then the the Mandalorians of the Mandalorian, because they are three distinct groups if you really think about it.
True, because even when they did try a retcon in the EU, is where they explained the Clone Wars Mandalorians as the new Mandalorians, is what they referred to them in Legends.
Yeah, I think they may do something similar with that, or like, because the way I'm looking at the Mandalorian culture is more of a religious thing.
Yeah, so that's what I think it's more like they're going with, because I think they're kind of, as you said, I think they're going more with the EU sort of established, because I think, or I wouldn't say they'll go by the actual names, but that's what it was, because I know in EU sources, like around the time when the Clone Wars was airing and when the Expanded Universe was still canon, as I said, they referred to the Mandalorians we see in the Clone Wars as the new Mandalorians to, I think try a way to explain it more on the clarification between what we saw in the Clone Wars and in the EU works around that time. So I do think, yeah, as you did say, it looks like Rebels did go that route, and the Mandalorian is continuing what Rebels built off of.
Exactly. And it could probably explain why, for example, all like Clan Ren would take off their helmets and stuff, and while the new Mandalorian, well, not the new Mandalorians, the Mandalorians we see in the show refuse to.
Yeah.
It'd be like how they're overly dedicated to the religion itself.
Mm-hmm.
It could be something really interesting to tackle.
In episode 4, we're introduced to Cara Dune, and we're on that forest planet, and then pretty much protect a village in a way.
Yeah, the one time in Star Wars where an ATST was actually terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's that one person that tries to shoot, and then we see like Cara Dune kills the person in the forest, and then she said, then we get the mention she was a drop soldier for the rebellion, and then Cara Dune mentions warlords and all that.
Yeah. I wonder if we're going to see her character return in, like, not in Mandalorian related material, I mean, like, rebellion material.
Yeah, sort of to flesh it out more, because see what she was up to during the original trilogy kind of era.
One would think.
Yeah, maybe she could appear in one of them in the mainline Star Wars comics.
Exactly. That I think that's probably the best way to introduce her first is to say like, oh yeah, she's like a rebel commando, whatever, and then they build up her story with like the Endor siege and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Hey, maybe the Cassian series, perhaps.
Yeah, because that's even like he could give more of her backstory, even what she was before the events of A New Hope. That would even be a perfect. Like, I'd like to see even the Cassian series could be more like we could see a much more like rebel sort of military kind of series in that. But even though we're talking about the Mandalorian, but that Cassian shows for a discussion. But I think that's a good opportunity to introduce Cara Dune, like a younger one, because I mean, they've already closed the book on with the comics in between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, and now the mainline comic series is pretty much going between Empire and Jedi, so maybe we could see her in there. And then I'm sure they're going to do a volume 3 of the main Star Wars comics that might get like a post Endor sort of thing, pre-Force Awakens maybe. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got because one of my proposed animated shows they should do, like I've been saying this since Rebels, after Rebels is done, I want to see an animated show called Star Wars New Republic or something, where it's even though the Mandalorian's going to focus more on the criminal underworld kind of stuff, is why not do an animated show in the Clone Wars is kind of setting called the New Republic, and they can give you a lot more world building and all that, and they can even have connections to the Mandalorian and even stuff that helps the world building of the sequel trilogy.
Speaking of this show being about the underworld, talking about episode 5 here, the one where he goes to Tatooine, I've heard many people say that this episode was nothing but filler and fan service, but I disagree.
Yeah, I do think it is. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, Tatooine, Mos Eisley, we get to see Dewbacks, we get to see Tusken Raiders, but here's the thing, though. This show was marketed as what happened after Episode 6, what was the underworld like after Episode 6? And we get to see it in this episode. Because Jabba is dead, Tatooine is, it's practically a ghost town now. Mos Eisley is practically empty. And I wish it was explored more in this show. I mean, yes, Mandalorian and especially Baby Yoda are the main focus.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have liked to have seen more of just how the world was affected, especially in regards to Jabba's death, because, you have a huge power vacuum there.
Yeah. I could see them touching upon that in season 2, as well as what you said. I could see that more. Do you think what you just said could happen in season 2?
I would like it to happen because right now the main focus is on Baby Yoda and Mandalorian is there for the ride. I would like to see more of the underworld.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. What about you, Wedge?
Honestly, I agree with like Henson for that whole underworld stuff because
True.
like it just sets up everything and then it doesn't really fully pay off. But I think that might change with season 2 as I think they're going back to Tatooine from what I
Yeah,
understood.
probably.
Considering there's the whole tease of Boba Fett showing up, the only place I could see him being is in Tatooine.
Yeah, I would agree with there because I mean, as I would say, I do think. I mean, yeah, because you said about the whole Boba Fett thing, because that's probably going to be a big thing. Because I felt like at the end of season 5, I mean, not, I mean, episode 5, season 1, because that thing does scream Boba Fett, and I thought that was going to be something big in the finale, but it looks like it's going to be set up for season 2. And yeah, as definitely as you said, Wedge, we're going back to Tatooine, as we know from the trailer and all the still images they released from Entertainment Weekly. It looks like, it is confirmed we are going back there, and it may play a bigger part than it did in season 1. And that's pretty much what I gotta say. And yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is. I think it's going to be like something that will build off from that episode. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that episode, well, the ending to that episode was definitely what one could call sequel bait.
Mm-hmm.
We know we're going to see it continued, and hopefully it does pay off.
Yeah, that's what I would agree. I feel like there are some episodes that are more, setting themselves up for some. I think, I'd say, with episode 5 is more, I think, is a setup for the future. And anything else do we need to say about season 1, episode 5?
No.
Wedge?
Unironically loved Toro Calican.
Oh yeah. I think you see something about Steel Saunders from Steel Wars. He has such a huge, heart for Toro. If you go on his social media, on Steel Wars social media, there's always this heart for Toro.
Just think about it, everyone sort of hates him for being so arrogant and annoying, but that's the whole point of his character.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be an annoying, arrogant asshole that we're supposed to dislike because he's just so full of himself. When in reality, he was just a kid who didn't know what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. We'll save that as a rant for another time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, at least nothing of value was lost.
Episode 6. This one was the one where they're on that ship, where he's with all the bunch of guys. Yeah, the prison ship, and then he's with that Twi'lek lady that's played by the person who plays the Tonks, if it is.
Tonks from
Harry Potter. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Then you have the Devorian creature who's played by the guy who played Savage Press. Yeah, Clancy Brown, who played Savage Press in the Clone Wars.
And he also played someone in... He also played the old guy in Rebels.
Yeah.
The one who knew Ezra's parents.
Yeah, I remember the guy. I remember when I was doing my review on that on my channel, I remember I kept calling him Tom Clancy. I got mixed up with the guy, Tom Clancy, but it's Clancy Brown.
Also the voice of Mr. Krabs.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, and then we have that one guy, and then he mentions a Canto Bight slot machine. So you have a Canto Bight reference in this episode.
Yeah, that was fun. I'll be real, that was pretty fun to hear it.
Yeah. And then you have that New Republic trooper who's who's the guy who voices Anakin in the 2008 Clone Wars, Matt Lanter.
Yeah. A cameo there.
Yeah, that cameo. He plays a cameo, and then I thought that was a nice little cameo. Nice little touch there, bringing in Matt Lanter to play a role in this episode. And I thought it was a pretty fun episode as well when they were on the prison ship. And then in the end, the guys he's with are left on the ship. And then at the end, it was pretty cool to see like Dave Filoni and all the other directors as X-Wing pilots.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, a little nice touch there. So, what do you guys think of this episode?
Well, this was the first episode that I didn't fully enjoy. Overall, I liked it. I liked the characters that were introduced, especially Bill Burr's character, just because I love his stand-up and F is for Family. And of course, getting the cameos from Filoni, Chow, and who was the third pilot?
Is it like Rick something?
Rick Famuyiwa?
Yeah. His last name is so hard.
I
to
butchered
pronounce.
that last name. But
Same here.
yeah, that was really nice, especially seeing Dave Filoni, because watching TCW as a kid as it was airing, it was just nice to see him finally appear in live action in a Star Wars project.
Yeah, it is. I think did he say like his character was named like Tapper Wolf or something?
Yeah, I think something like that, because he has a weird fascination with wolves.
Yeah, it sounds like it's his favorite animal.
Yeah.
Anything else?
And also because we see that they're all alive, his group was alive at the end. We're definitely gonna see them at some point.
Like for a revenge story?
That I'm not sure, but because they made a point to show us that they're alive, I'm fairly certain we're gonna see them pop up later.
What about you, Wedge? What did you thought of this episode?
I genuinely liked it because we got a little peek into, like the workings of the New Republic. We got some pretty interesting characters out of like those criminals. It also had a fun little like Easter eggs hidden throughout, like
the mouse droid. Where Clancy Brown's character, the Devorian guy, where he kind of growls at the mouse droid, which is almost kind of like an homage to what Chewbacca did in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Yes. What else do you have to? What did you think of Matt Lanter's appearance?
I actually didn't know that until like someone pointed it out on Twitter. I was like, "Huh, cool." Not what I expected it to look like. I gotta say, one thing about the episode that I found a little weird was that it sort of felt like the characters just felt a little too cartoony. But not
especially
that
the crazy Twi'lek.
Yeah, it's not like it bothers me because we like Star Wars has had its fair share of cartoony like characters. It was just a bit jarring. It was just like, but for sure, I cannot wait to see more of them.
Yeah, probably like what Henson said. We'll see them at some point eventually in the future.
Yeah, I wonder if we're ever going to see like their sort of first heist together that it was sort of hinted at throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Like live action, comic form, or even in a like regular novel format, I think it would be pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, because would you say this episode did seem like a heist kind of episode?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what did you think of the good ending, with the Baloney, Chow, and Rick?
Oh, it was awesome. I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like seeing my boy Dave Filoni there, I was like, oh, yeah.
It was pretty awesome.
Childhood dream come true right there.
Legit.
Yeah, that would be kind of awesome if like a lot of Star Wars creators got to do more cameos. Because you have Rian Johnson in The Last Jedi producer, where the Death Star tech in Rogue One, and then in The Last Jedi, you have Gareth Edwards at the battle as one of the soldiers at the Battle of Crate.
You also had George Lucas as Papanoida in Episode 3.
Yes, as that as well. It'd be nice if we got to do more things like that with creators. Imagine if we got like George Lucas, having cameos like Stan Lee in Marvel movies.
I don't know about that. I think that'll be pushing it a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to see more of like like stuff they did with like Matt Martin with Mark Matin in Rebels.
Oh, yeah.
Pablo Hidalgo had like a bounty hunter too. Like if they do more of those like behind the scenes people, that would be really cool to like sort of honor them as well.
Yeah, because
they do also a lot of heavy lifting for sort of the brand too.
Yeah, because it was in Rebels. The guy named Mart was an homage to Matt Martin. And then was that one alien, that like girl alien looking creature in that Rebels episode where they fly that Outrider looking ship? Was one supposed to be an homage to Andy Gutierrez from the Star Wars show?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that. I can't remember who I saw. It may have been from like Star Wars Explained or something that did it. But yeah, I know what you mean. And then was that one guy with the glasses in Rebels supposed to be an homage to Pablo Hidalgo?
Maybe, because I know he has his character like Palob something.
Yeah, like he's like that one Imperial guy on the ship in that Rebels episode, and he has the glasses, and it kind of isn't and he has a beard, so it is sort of somewhat of an homage to him. Alright, so episodes 7 and 8 of Mandalorian Season 1, which are the last 2 episodes of this season, is like, they're kind of, like, think of them as like part 1 and part 2. And this is the one, they pretty much, they go back to Nelvana or Narvara, wherever that planet's called. And then, because they meet up with Puel, who's the guy who says, "I have spoken." And then we see Cara Dune. They come with Cara Dune and all that. And then we even see Baby Yoda do force healing in this. So that's where, this is technically where we first see force healing back in the new canon. Because this came out, not long before The Rise of Skywalker was on the heels of coming out this episode. And that's where, because even force healing played a big thing in The Rise of Skywalker. And that's where we see, Baby Yoda use the force healing and all that. Then they go to the planet where I can't remember how you say it, but, where they meet up with Grief Karga, and then we see all the bit with all the stormtroopers and all that. And then this is where we first see Moff Gideon and all that. And then that's pretty much, when they're in that bar, and then, where we even see the Death Troopers from Rogue One as well, which was pretty cool. And that's pretty much, then it goes on and then leaves to, to episode 8, and then also, what do you call it? The guy that says, "I have spoken," is dead.
That was a shock, in all honesty. Like, I did not expect that.
Yeah, that hit pretty hard.
Yeah, and that's where the Scout Troopers take Baby Yoda.
Yeah, no, like the whole episode was actually pretty great. Like, it was pure like Western, which I loved from like the oh my god, I'm just blanking out, with like Moff Gideon like showing up at the end, being like, oh, like telling them who they are, and like everyone's like thinking, oh, who the hell is this guy, and then the follow up afterwards with it was just like, it was just, the overall both episodes were just nuts, so well done. And like even with IG-11, I'm surprised we haven't talked about IG-11.
I know, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot to bring him up. Yeah, because it like the guy, it says, "I have spoken," reprogrammed him, and then the Mandalorian's a bit skeptical of him as well. So yeah, I continue on.
Well, I'm glad we finally get back to the plot, because as much as I enjoyed the past few episodes, it felt great to actually, focus on what the show started out as. And, got a lot of twists. Got Quell dying, which sucked. But we finally got to see Ma. And we got to see the characters that we've seen throughout the season finally come together and team up. Got to see Moff Gideon. That was nice. But this episode really is just set up for the finale.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice to see that Carl Weathers' character wasn't a complete asshole.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
Like, I just love Carl Weathers because of Arrested Development. So seeing him, be cool was great.
Mm.
Yeah. And then, did Taika Waititi do episode 7 or just the season finale, episode 8?
I think he did the season finale.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because I think with episode 8, I think he did a pretty good job with the finale, and I do think he has a pretty good chance to do something with his upcoming Star Wars movie.
And he was also the voice of IG-11.
Yeah, I remember that. He has some talent, and he's the director of Thor Ragnarok.
Yep.
So I do think he could do something pretty good with his upcoming Star Wars movie, but that's another discussion for another time. But moving on to episode 8, which is the finale, pretty much, it's left off where episode 7, pretty much left off, and then you have pretty much Quell is dead and all that. Pretty much Grief, which is Carl Weathers' character, Cara Dune in The Mandalorian, which is revealed as Din Djarin. Then we also get the reveal that Cara Dune is from Alderaan, and then we have a big that's pretty much where they're still surrounded by the group of stormtroopers and all that. Then we see the bit where the scout trooper punches Baby Yoda and all that, and then we see IG-11, take the speeder from the scout troopers and all that, and then he comes to save them and all that, and then they go, and then they have a big fight and all that, and then we see pretty much Din Djarin gets injured, and then they go underground, get their new armor, and then pretty much he gets the jetpack as well, and then he gets an emblem on his shoulder pad, and then as they go through the river, we see the bit where IG-11 starts to self-destruct, and then we see Grief Karga, who's Carl Weathers' character. He tells Baby Yoda, do the magic hand thing, which is the Force. And then we see the Mandalorian and Moff Gideon get into a fight where he gets on his TIE fighter, and then he crashes his TIE fighter down, and then at the end is where the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda leave. We see and at the end we see the TIE fighter get cut open, and Moff Gideon has the Darksaber, and that's pretty much the end of Season 1, and then hopefully we get to see more of it in Season 2. So, you guys take it away.
Well, reveal Darksaber. Wasn't that just nuts?
I know, seen it in live action. Alright. Henson, go.
So many questions.
Luker. Okay. Yeah. Anyone? Who's next?
Alright, so starting off with the 2 scout troopers we got at the beginning, I thought their banter was pretty fun, or their scene was pretty fun. Really makes me want to have a show dedicated to stormtroopers in the style of Red versus Blue. That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, despite being told or given the Mandalorian's name,
Din Djarin.
I never remember his name. Even when you, Daniel, just mentioned his name, in one ear, out the other, I cannot remember his name.
Yeah, maybe we'll get it more in Season 2, but to remember it.
I think it's going to be in the same vein as Star Killer, where, yeah, he does have a real name, but nobody's ever going to refer to him by his real name. It's just going to be his title.
Yeah.
And I was shocked that we actually saw his face. I thought they were going to hold off on that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, overall, especially watching these last two episodes, I wish more of the season focused on this plot. Because, like I said, as much as I enjoyed episodes 5 to. Wait a minute. No, 4 to 6. The season should have been far more focused than what it actually turned out to be. Because you have the first 3 episodes and the last 2 which tell a story, but then you have these 3 middle episodes which go. I mean, we do get important development in, but they're not that connected to the actual plot of the season. If those episodes had been dispersed more evenly, it wouldn't be too much of a problem. But the fact that we have a group of episodes that don't develop the overall story feels weird going back and rewatching it. And hopefully that I want them to fix that in season 2. Have a more structured season. If you're gonna have one-off episodes, disperse them evenly and not just clump them together, because it ruins the pacing of this series.
Anything else?
I'm all set there. And seeing the Darksaber was really nice, and getting set up and hyping up season 2.
Yeah, I would agree there. Wedge, your turn.
I loved basically every second of the series. In all honesty, I just thought it was so fun, and it was exactly what I wanted. Not only did we not get just a pure macho character out of the Mandalorian, we also got to see sort of a really human side of him. So it's something we rarely sort of see out of the Mandalorian, other than going really deep dives into Legends.
Yeah.
One thing I really appreciated was also the character of Moff Gideon, because he wasn't your typical Imperial bad guy. He wasn't a we don't know this, in all honesty. As far as we know, he's just some regular Imperial officer who's potentially just made himself a Moff, or he is a self-appointed warlord or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nice change of pace from always having Force-sensitive bad guys. If he ends up being Force-sensitive, all right, whatever. But it was nice for the time.
Good point there. Yeah, I'd say, as you said, I mean, Moff Gideon, he wasn't your typical Tarkin or Admiral Piet or General Veers or General Hux or Pride kind of guy, or even Thrawn. I feel like Moff Gideon, he was more different. I mean, as you said, I don't know. I mean, with him being a Force user, what would be the point, because our main character isn't a Force user. I mean, maybe they could have the potential Ahsoka appearance where maybe Ahsoka and Moff Gideon fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, yeah, that's the thing, what I would have to say. Another thing I forgot to mention is, when the flashback where I have the B2 super battle droids, and then we see a bunch of Mandalorians fighting, and we have the Death Watch Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one as well. What would you guys say about that?
I loved those callbacks to the Clone Wars, in all honesty. I was expecting actually Bo-Katan or Obi-Wan to save him, to sort of set up that Obi-Wan series, or to just reference the Clone Wars. But then when it didn't happen, I was like, oh shit, okay. But I still dug the direction it was. Like, it was still like just Mandalorians that were like, it was Death Watch, which was already just cool.
Yeah, they were finding the droids. You didn't even see any clones in action,
Yeah.
which I thought was a nice touch as well. Like, you didn't see like a random Jedi with a bunch of clones fighting the battle droids.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to see the Clone Wars in live action was honestly the greatest thing about this show. Because it's like, I'm seeing. I mean, the droids were CGI, but getting to see droids in live action again, like, I haven't seen those in like 15 years.
I agree.
And it just, man, we really need to have more live action stuff set during the Clone Wars. I need to see that.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Like, have some battle droids in action. That would be nice. Like, imagine if, like, we got, because it looks like Tamara Morrison is actually going to be in season 2. Imagine we got to see, like, even a callback during the Clone Wars, and then you see a clone take off his helmet, and then you see, like, Tamara Morrison in it as well, even though he's pretty much going to play Boba Fett in season 2. And imagine, do you think they'll have, like, Captain Rex in season 2?
I don't know. I think he's going to be too old at that point.
Yeah, that's why I think Tamara is likely going to be Boba Fett.
I mean, could age him up.
Yeah.
True, but
I
like,
mean, all you have to do with hair is makeup. You don't even need CGI for that.
True.
No, but wouldn't he be just so old to the point where he could just barely walk and stuff?
Yeah, that could be. You do make a good point.
He has accelerated growth, and like, I know it's like, oh, it's Star Wars, like whatever, they could write around that.
Yeah.
Like, look, Captain Rex was cool in the Clone Wars. He was cool in Rebels, but I don't think we should be seeing him everywhere. His story should be closed by the end of the Galactic Civil War, because, in my opinion, that's when his story should close.
Yeah.
Because he started with the Republic, with Anakin and everything. Then his story continued into the Rebellion, where he fought basically the government he once was so loyal to, and then he was part of the battle that more or less took it down officially.
Yeah.
So his story to me is done. Anything more would be just unrealistic to me. I don't want to say fan service, just because I don't think fan service is inherently bad.
Yeah, I could understand your point. I just think with Rex appearing in The Mandalorian, I just think he would be a bit too old, Like, what Mandalorian season 1 is about, like, it's set. Jon Favreau confirmed it's 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So it looks like in the images we got for season 2 and the trailer, it looks like we may have a bit of a time jump. So could be about maybe a year after season 1, or 2 years maybe, which would be about 6 to 7 years after Return of the Jedi. So yeah, Rex would probably be a bit out of his day.
Like, I'd rather they focus more on new characters, like Sabine, that potentially could show up, or even just new characters in general, like from the comics. Like, I want to see Dr. Aphra.
Yeah, I'd love to see Aphra finally show up in live action.
True. Even
I want to see those characters.
What about Iden Versio?
I would love to see her.
That would be interesting.
Especially since the character, all the characters in that game are modeled after their actors, so you could easily get her and it would fit.
True. And then also, what's the other character we could see in future seasons?
Ahsoka? I'm interested to see, just because she and Luke and Leia are sort of the last of the Jedi.
Yeah, that could be it. I think I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I could see Ahsoka having a smaller role in season 2, actually.
I think Ahsoka's role would be that of pretty much taking ownership of the child, because at some point, the child's going to have to leave the show, and I think pawning him off on Ahsoka would fit.
Yeah, I think that's who's going to likely get the Baby Yoda is Ahsoka. Because I know that's pretty much what.
I was just gonna say because Filoni can't let her go.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if like Baby Yoda is actually one of Luke's new students of his Jedi Order that he has with Ben Solo.
But what would they do with that? Because he would be basically like a 7-year-old or something, or like a 3-year-old by the time of Force Awakens. Do you think maybe they're just gonna hide him somewhere?
Could be. I don't know what it could be. Do you think? Because I don't know. Because I know Ahsoka has to die at some point. Because I think I think they're gonna. I think with Ahsoka, I think there's gonna be bits that will mark it for the Rebels sequel series that could eventually happen. I am 100 pretty confident that is gonna happen. It's just only a matter of when, not if. Like, I think the Bad Batch show is going to be on, like, a smaller scale, I think. And I think the Rebels sequel series is going to be the next big animated show. And I do think Mandalorian is. I think, like, the Bad Batch is going to get the treatment as what Resistance did.
Oh, God.
Honestly, Bad Batch is the show I'm least interested in. Like, while I love them in the Clone Wars, they're not good enough to get their own show, in all honesty.
Yeah, to be honest,
it's pretty much the new canon equivalent of Republic Commando.
Not only that,
I like their characters far more than I did the Bad Batch.
To me, yeah, even though the Republic Commandos do appear in the Clone Wars, but I just think the Bad Batch show, I think that's gonna be like Resistance, how it got like 2 seasons.
Well, no, something we got to remember about Resistance is that show was canceled. They were not planning on only having 2 seasons, despite what they claim.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they were limited because of the production of the season.
Nobody was watching Resistance.
In case they gave away spoilers. I think a lot of people... I mean, it was okay compared to the other shows, but...
Oh, it was bad compared to, like, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it.
It's not as bad as something like Droids or Ewoks, but it was something that I hope future shows retain from literally any other Star Wars show recent show we've gotten is just have good characters.
Yeah.
And a plot that's actually worth a damn.
True.
That's something that Resistance did not have.
Yeah, Resistance to me, like, I thought, like, I mean, I wasn't too impressed by the trailer, and then I kind of watched the show, and then by the end of season 1, it grew on me a bit, and then by watching season 2, there were bits I felt like it was watchable, but I would say it had nothing on, like, Clone Wars or Rebels or even the 2003 Clone Wars.
Moving back to The Mandalorian for a minute, something that I hope we get is, in regards to Boba Fett, in Aftermath, it's established that a character has his armor.
Yeah, I think that's
spacing on... Does anyone remember the name of that character?
Is it like Cobb something?
Cobb Vanth or something?
Yeah, because I think they did confirm he's going to be in the show.
Because, one of my major issues with a new canon has been they establish something and then never really follow up on it. And if we get this of seeing him and, maybe he's playing an imposter Boba Fett, or he claims to be Boba Fett, and then that's when we get the real Boba Fett. Yeah. Just, 1, so we can have a follow-up on that setup, and 2, it'll show me and probably a good amount of new canon fans that they are actually starting to give a damn about making this canon feel like a cohesive and connected universe.
Yeah, I can kind of understand where you're coming from. I do feel like there are things that... Yeah, you do sort of bring up a good point. I do think, like, it's Timothy Oliphant who is going to play Cobb Vanth.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. And I think Tamara Morrison. So I think there'll be, like, a fight between them or something.
I think it's going to be, like, very much like Boba Fett is, like, hates the Mandalorian because he's a Mandalorian, and he hates what's it called, Cobb Vanth, because he basically stole his armor.
Yeah, I think he's gonna kill Cobb Vanth to get his armor back.
And hopefully, when we do see Boba Fett, he's all scarred up.
Yeah, I think that. Because honestly, would you say Boba Fett surviving the Sarlacc pit in the EU is the equivalent of Darth Maul surviving in TCW? Because
No.
more because of how much they're loved by the fans because they look all cool and stuff. But in the movies, they're just some side character. But I feel to that extent, where they feel like in expanded material they get a much better where they're worth why they are liked because of how cool they look.
Yeah, especially in regards to Boba Fett, because, he did nothing besides track them or track the Falcon crew in 5, and then he went out like a bitch in 6.
Yeah.
But the thing is, his survival of the Sarlacc pit makes far more sense than Maul surviving being cut in half.
Yeah,
because, it stated in the film that it takes a long time for the Sarlacc pit to actually digest you, and plus he had help in getting out.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I felt like Boba Fett in the EU, I felt like it enhanced his character more. Even with him post Return of the Jedi, I feel like became more like. That's why I viewed it with Darth Maul alive in the Clone Wars, because I felt like a lot of people started to like Darth Maul more, and plus his EU stories as well. I just think because they're I always think Darth Maul is the Boba Fett of the prequels because he looked cool and had really nothing that much to do in the Phantom Menace. Besides the lightsaber duel, and that's why I think the same applies with Boba Fett in the expanded material and him surviving the Sarlacc pit in the EU, and I think that's going to apply with him in the Mandalorian. He's going to make it more worth his why people like him so much.
For sure.
Closing thoughts. Well, I did enjoy season 1, and I thought it has a lot, and it sets up a good future with the franchise. And I do think a lot of Star Wars TV has a good future. And I did think The Mandalorian did introduce a live action Star Wars show would introduce the movie only people. Because I've met people who've seen The Mandalorian and they never even seen any of the animated shows or never even read an expanded universe novel or a new canon novel or comic book. That's the thing. Because I do think a lot of people do sleep on the animation. They probably go, oh, it's a kid's show, where I think with the live action, they will feel more watching it, where I feel like they'll sleep on the animation of it being a kid's show. But Clone Wars and Rebels does have some darker themes, and same with the 03 Clone Wars had some things that would welcome adults.
Yeah.
As well, and that's why I think with The Mandalorian in other potential live action shows will introduce it more to the moviegoer kind of people, and only people who just know the Star Wars movies and don't know anything about the expanded universe or the new canon books and comics and video games. And that's pretty much what I'd have to say, and definitely did enjoy and can't wait for season 2. So, who's next?
So, overall, I do enjoy season 1, but I think, and I hope season 2 fixes this, getting the one-off episodes all lumped together really ruined the show's pacing, and it also caused the story to just kind of hit pause for a few episodes before finally resuming. I thought the characters were really good, and something we didn't bring up are the special effects. They are so good in this.
Yeah, I would agree
Really,
there.
they're using you can find out how they did it watching the making of on Disney Plus, but yeah, this is something that the sequels were missing, like revolutionizing technology, pushing things forward.
Yeah, I would agree with you there because I even in the way they were doing the Mandalorian, I felt like this was more revolutionized. As I feel like with the Force Awakens, I felt like they wanted to be so old school, you know.
Now
And I
that
did,
yeah,
and I did, think the sequels were just basic movie making, and definitely I would agree with you there. They wanted to revolutionize the tech. I feel like the Mandalorian revolutionize the technology, and hopefully like future Star Wars movies go by this and the future live action shows.
yeah, that's all I got on my end.
Yeah, anything else or that's it?
Yeah, that's it on my end.
Okay, so Wedge.
Honestly, I'm just looking forward to season 2. I've got so much that I think that it's going to be great.
All right, anything else?
Not really, honestly. I think you guys pretty much said it right.
Yeah,
Mm.
and definitely, yeah. I think we missed this. I think Henson did come at the with the right bit about with the special effects. Wedge? Would you say about the special effects more enhanced it more than the sequel trilogy did?
Uh, I don't know about that, but like, hmm, I don't know. It's something I haven't really thought of, in all
Yeah,
honesty, because I don't really
yeah, because
compare the two because they're, in my opinion, just two completely different things.
yeah, fair enough. There, I just think, yeah,
I mean, my thing is, the sequels didn't really do much to move things forward because that's what the original and prequels did, like really push movie making and special effects forward. Sequels are, and also along with Rogue One and Solo, kind of just stayed stagnant with how things are. And then we have The Mandalorian, which introduces this whole new way to do, honestly, filmmaking in general. Because I do think this series really immersed me in all the environments they were in.
yeah. I would say. And then that's the thing. Even like Baby Yoda is getting even a lot of love from like the casual fans. Like the people who don't know much about Star Wars, like don't know much about lore, you know?
I would also add that nobody refers to him as the child; they refer to him as Baby Yoda.
Yeah, because they
And
don't know who Yaddle is and who's I forget the one guy from like the old Knights of the Old Republic.
mm,
Who's Yoda's species. They probably don't
yeah,
know anything about him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
well, I mean, it's just the fact that the child is. I mean, it fits with just calling him the Mandalorian, but let's face it, we're all just gonna refer to him as Baby Yoda. Even if
Yeah.
they give him an actual name, we're just gonna call him Baby Yoda.
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of people do because I don't think that's a thing what you get from bringing in the more casual fans and the people only know the movies. Because not even expanded universe lore or new canon lore doesn't even tell you Yoda's species.
Mm.
Like that's the thing. Like I guarantee you, like what will if Ahsoka and Sabine appear? Like how many casual moviegoers are gonna know who Ahsoka and Sabine is, you know? Like,
I'm sure we'll have a good number of people who'll at least be familiar with Ahsoka because, I mean, hey, finding out that Anakin had an apprentice, that's information that I'd say would spread out. But
yeah, I'm sure it
Sabine,
would.
no, not many
Yeah,
people are going to know her.
true. I mean, that's the thing. I don't think I don't know how much the movie, like, people who never watched an episode of the Clone Wars or Rebels or Resistance
Casuals.
aren't gonna know much because that's what I said earlier in our conclusion. I've met people in person that wouldn't even know what the not even know anything about the expanded universe or even not even watched any of the animation not even both Clone Wars shows, Rebels, nor Resistance. I was like, when I met someone that kind of knew, I was like, man, people miss out, you know? It kind of is sad, but it's reality in a way that some people just miss out on some, some good quality Star Wars content other than the movies, you know? I mean, this is pretty much the only thing they've experienced outside the movies, and hopefully, like, the good thing I could see with Ahsoka appearing, it might get more of, like, older people to, like, in the more casuals to watch Clone Wars and Rebels and all that. Now, I even made an article for the website, a guide on what people should read in, like, for Mandalorian, and I even did it, like, for stuff for what you should read that connects to The Mandalorian, Rogue One, and Solo. Gave all the list of Clone Wars and Rebels episodes because of, like, the Pike, Mandalorians, the Darksaber, Saw Gerrera, like, stuff like that. It's on the Twin Canon Archives website if people want to check it out.
Okay, so is there anything else anybody has to say about The Mandalorian?
I mean, just excited for the future. What about you guys?
Yeah, also excited, and hopefully Season 2 can learn from the mistakes of Season 1, and we can just get, like, the straight 10 out of 10 Star Wars show.
Yeah. You, Wedge?
Honestly, I think The Mandalorian is going to be the launching point for basically a great sort of TV universe for Star Wars, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could see that, like, as well. Do you think that's where the whole, like, Filoni dominance rumor thing could come into play?
Potentially, like, because at the end of the day, the person that Dave Filoni is, you don't want him being sort of a leader in Lucasfilm, because that's how you sort of kill the creativity.
Do you think, like,
he's the guy that's supposed to be working with everyone else to sort of create these things. When you take him out of that role to make him the boss, yes, he can micromanage people, but at the same time, he's going to have a lot less time to do so, and he's not going to be able to work at it, so we're going to lose all kinds of quality content.
Yeah, I could understand. I think the people wanting Dave Filoni in charge may be overthinking, because it takes a lot to run a company. I think what you're thinking, you need someone on the creative side and you need someone on the finance side to run Lucasfilm.
They have such a poor conception of how business actually works.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, well, I don't have a business degree, but I understand. I think people overlook business on a lot of things in the entertainment industry. I think people are going overboard. Oh, Kathleen Kennedy should be fired, put Dave Filoni in charge. But I think they were looking back on it, they were jumping the gun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you can have Filoni be involved in these shows, and maybe he could be involved in a movie or something, and that's as far as it can go, but he'd have to be more on the creative side than the business standpoint. Closing thoughts, we're ready for Season 2, and this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.